Romeo Dobbs is still a Green Bay Packer. Let's go.
Tim fired up about that, man. I know Coach Lynn, little spoiler alert, he said it's Josh Wild time, baby. That's right. We'll hit on that as well. Let's lead things off, Tim. Let's get into this trade talk, man. I don't know how long this segment will last. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 40 minutes. But this was just interesting today, man. All the trades that took place, obviously, as the one that kind of headlined it for me. I know Sauce Gardner, we'll talk about it in a second. You guys know when we were talking about, hey, what kind of trade would you be interested in? I said, the only position I would really be interested in is another defensive tackle, right? A tier 1 position. And it just so happens there was someone that was rumored to be on the market, on the trade market there, and it was Quinnen Williams. Guys, I view Quinnen Williams as a top 3 defensive tackle in the league. Some may have him top 5, top 10, what have you. But Quinnen Williams is a dog, man. He has been for a very long time. So the Jets and the Cowboys make the trade, okay? So here was the blockbuster trade. The Cowboys are trading for Jets Pro Bowl defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, said Ian Rappaport, sending a first-round pick and more to the New York Jets, per the insiders, a new home for one of the NFL's best to team that values interior defensive linemen as New York Jets build for the future. So the Jets ended up getting a second-rounder this coming draft and a first rounder in 2027, okay, next year. And then, of course, Maisie Smith, however you say it, also went to the Jets, okay? The Cowboys get Quinnen Williams. Now, you guys know I'm a Packer fan, right? I seen Packer fans raking the Cowboys over the coals for this trade. I think this is a solid trade for the Cowboys, man. I really do. I think that they got a lot better on the defensive front with this. Now, it would mean a lot more, Tim, if you still have Micah Parsons, right? However, and some people are saying, well, you wouldn't have those first round. Yeah, they traded their first round picks. So imagine if they had kept Micah Parsons, worked that out, right? Not traded for Kenny Clark. Obviously, you wouldn't have him. But then you get Quinnen Williams paired with Micah Parsons. That's been Micah Parsons' problem in Dallas, is he didn't have that guy with him, you know? So I thought that was really interesting that they kind of took this approach. Now, to me, it makes their team better. But as you guys seen on Monday Night Football last night, they're more than just a defensive tackle away, obviously. So I agreed with the move by the Cowboys. I just don't agree with it in the sentiment of, why did you ship off Micah Parsons if you're going to go get a guy that, man, it would have been real hard, Tim. Imagine in a pass rushing situation, putting Quinnen Williams at 3 tech and Micah Parsons on the other. Good luck blocking that front, right?
Absolutely. That's why we wanted to keep Rashawn here if we were going to bring Micah in. And, Williams was one of those guys that I was kind of holding out hope that we might make a move for. But obviously we didn't have any first rounders to give up. Right. We gave those up, and Goot's certainly not going to give up a second. At least apparently that's the truth, as we've passed the deadline already. So good trade for the Cowboys. I wish we could have snagged them. I feel like we could have got a little better too, as a squad right now.
Yeah, and like you said, man, obviously not having the first round pick this year and next year, you probably would have had to give up the rest of your draft, to kind of equate what's on the trade chart there. It's also, you've got Devontae Wyatt. Like they believe in Devontae Wyatt. I feel firm in that. Now listen, Devontae Wyatt, and I'm going to be honest here, and maybe he'll develop into a better player than Quinnen Williams, but Devontae Wyatt is here, Quinnen Williams is here, right? Yep. But who knows? Devontae Wyatt might step into that level of play in the next year or two, hopefully this year, by the second half of the season. And then you've got now Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and Devontae Wyatt. Good luck blocking that, And we've also doing some really creative stuff with Quay, which I'll mention here on the back side of the show. So again, Quinnen Williams is now a Dallas Cowboy. I think that's a good move for Dallas. And want to know what everybody thinks in the comments there. If you're watching this video back later, let me know if you think that was a good movie for the Cowboys or not. Now, obviously, the Jets were having a fire sale here, Tim, so they traded off arguably their best player or their second best player, if you think Quinnen Williams is their best player. Adam Schefter tweeted out, ESPN sources, Colts are trading 2 first-round picks to the Jets for cornerback Sauce Gardner. This one I feel way different about, Tim. Ain't no way I'm giving up 2 first-round picks for a cornerback. I don't care how good they are. Now, With that being said, the Colts are one of, if not the best teams in the league right now. That could change in the second half of the season. NFL stands for not for long, right? If they continue to play well and now they got a shutdown corner, I can see how it makes sense. boy, you talking about overpaying 2 first-round picks for a cornerback. I don't care if he's the best corner in the game. How often is your best corner just going to be completely neutralized by them throwing to the opposite side of the field? And if you force yourself to play man coverage, now you're playing into the offense's hands. That was something that was kind of popular about a decade ago. That sense has gone to the wayside. How do you feel about Sauce Gardner, man? Do you agree with me, disagree with me there? Because Sauce Gardner's a great corner, Tim.
Yeah, for sure.
A corner, you know?
Yeah, and a closet Packer fan, right? We all know Sauce secretly wanted to be a Packer more than anything. I think what this signifies is that the Colts are all in right now,
right
at this point in the year. I agree. 2 firsts for a corner, that's crazy. But props to Sauce. My understanding is he was kind of surprised by this deal. I think he found out 15 minutes after the negotiations were finalized or whatever. But hats off to Sauce, man. At least he's going to a contender. He's the hell out of that AFC East for sure. So, but yeah, we didn't have the picks to give him, and even if we did, 2 firsts and Kenny Clark for MP1 is one thing. 2 firsts butt naked through the trailer park for a corner halfway through the year is another. So, maybe it'll work out for the Colts, but clearly that signifies that it's now for Indy, obviously.
No doubt. And listen, he's a great player. He's arguably the best corner in the game. 2-0 for this says you wouldn't give 2 firsts for primetime. Sauce Gardner's a good player, boys. But
corner is not a tier 1 position.
Right. And Sauce Gardner is not primetime. Like, I don't know how old you are, 2-0 for this, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way. It seems like many people who pretend like these corners in today's game are just as good as Deion was in his prime.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up watching it. Deion was unbelievable. Sauce Gardner's a great player. Deion is top 3, maybe the best corner in the history of the game.
Sauce isn't returning kicks. Sauce isn't playing receiver when you need him to.
I mean, he was just unbelievable, Tim. And when he picked the pass off, the whole offense went, "Oh no, everybody get back," because he was going to house that sucker. And
absolutely,
he was one of those dudes too that he could make your number 1 receiver disappear. But again, we're talking about a different era of football too, right?
True.
Where they would do that type of stuff. Hey, follow the number 1. And in today's offense, in today's NFL, it feels like teams can scheme around that number 1, right? There were so many times. I remember Richard Sherman, they had a lot of success, but with Richard Sherman, he only played one side of the field. What teams do? Well, we're just not going to throw over there, right? You can do essentially the same thing if a receiver follows your number 1. That's why what Bill Belichick did so well was, he did the bullseye defense where he would put the number 1 corner on your number 2 receiver and then double team your number 1 receiver, forcing you to go to the 3rd best option. And that's why Green Bay Packers and Mike McCarthy had so much success against Bill Belichick. You remember that game at Lambeau Field. It might have been Monday Night Football, if I remember correctly, where Jordy Nelson just went off. It's because they were putting Jordy in the 3 and just toasting him because that bullseye was completely neutralized. So the game has obviously changed. But yeah, 2-0 for this. Would I give 2 first-round picks for prime time in his prime if the Super Bowl window is open? Yes. Yep. Sauce Gardner isn't prime time.
So, and it's not a knock on Sauce, right?
Right.
Prime's on the level, and maybe Sauce is knocking on the door or something like that. Not a knock on him, right? But he's definitely not prime time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a corner that would be in the same league as Sauce. Like, I'm sure Packer fans would go, or I'm not Sauce, but same league as Deion. I'm sure some Packer fans would say Charles Woodson was. Well, Charles Woodson in his Defensive Player of the Year, I can see the argument, but the problem there is they played him mostly in the nickel in the star position, and everything was just kind of, I don't want to say fabricated. I guess that is the right word though. You're kind of molding the defense around. Let's put Charles right in the middle of the defense. Let's fire him on a blitz. Let's drop him off a fire zone blitzes, things like that. And Deion was just a different era. It's hard to really judge that, but I would still, I'm trying to think of another corner team. Can you think of another cornerback in the history of the game that you would say, yes, in their prime, they were better than Deion Sanders in his prime? I just can't. I can't think of one, man. I really can't.
It's tough. It's tough. I don't even want to name names because anyone I could think of right now would just be, maybe an argument, but certainly wouldn't hold a candle to prime.
Right, right. And let's see here. Chuck Jaggers in the chat says prime time. That's it. I think he was referring to the first part of this conversation,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Joe Pack Joe NC says wow how corner isn't a tier one position, but Kevin King is legit. The reason we didn't go to the Super Bowl. See,
Yeah, I gotta
that's
disagree.
yeah,
I gotta disagree.
it's first of all the play call there.
Yeah. Yep.
Not only that, but if Kevin King giving up that touchdown before halftime is the reason we didn't go to the Super Bowl, listen, you also had David Bakhtiari go out in that game, if I remember correctly, and then all of a sudden we couldn't block the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And I'm sure Kevin King didn't say, "Hey, put me on an island right before halftime, all by my lonesome."
Yeah, he should have been playing over the top technique, but still, yeah. But yeah, that doesn't Joe Pack Joe. That doesn't mean it makes it all of a sudden a tier one position. If that's the case, you could say, okay, when an inside linebacker misses a tackle and somebody houses it for 90 yards, is that all of a sudden a tier one position? No, right?
Yep.
So, and again, I'm not telling everybody they have to agree with my tiers. You may think cornerback's more important than defensive tackle or more important than the edge. I just, the football I've studied, I just disagree with that sentiment. Not that Joe Pack Joe is even saying that, but
No.
Let's see here. We got a super chat real quick. Jason Y, I appreciate you, buddy. Says, you guys think the rest of the league caught up to Matt LaFleur's illusion of complexity offense? No. Here's the thing, Jason. When Matt LaFleur was hired, the local media made this out to be this big thing, right? Like, we always talk about the illusion of complexity with simplicity at its base, right? Guys, that's every offense. Like, in the history of the National Football League, everybody runs the same concepts, right? They run the same concepts. They just get to it out of different formations and different looks, right? The illusion of complexity, I would love to ask some of the sports writers, what do you mean by that exactly? Because I think you would ask 5 or 6 different people and they would have different answers, right? Really, when I think of the illusion of complexity, you're running the same concepts. You're making it look different every play, right? Now, in terms of have people caught on to Matt LaFleur's offense, let's just kind of ask the question that way, Jason. I think his offense, it's not like his offense is different than McVay's or it's different than Shanahan's or anyone else. There's actually a lot of other schemes, that outside of the Shanahan tree and the wide zone boot. I mean, here's a perfect way of explaining that, Jason. Matt LaFleur does not run the same scheme he ran when he took over in Green Bay, right? Everything was predicated off of wide zone boot, meaning you're running outside stretch plays, which is essentially an outside zone play, and your boot action off of that, right? Well, we ran that in a hybrid version of McCarthy's offense those first couple of years that LaFleur was here, and then all of a sudden the RPO game took over the league, and everything shifted to mostly RPO. So we were, RPO, outside zone RPO is hard to run because the quarterback has to make a split-second decision of, do I have to take this snap, get my footwork back, and make the stretch throw, or start the stretch throw while still looking down the field and then trying to turn and wing it? 90% of the RPO game comes out of the gun set. So LaFleur came in, and we went hybrid, McCarthy, West Coast spread, and wide zone boot. Then we shifted to wide zone boot, RPO. And now we've shifted from that to RPO with duo mostly. And there's a lot of power. Like you're going to see on Chalk Talk tomorrow, we ran a couple counter plays, right? And it was GT counter, essentially what it is. And that's pin and pull, right? We ran some pin and pull when McCarthy was here.
Yep.
So the point I'm trying to make, Jason, everybody runs the same stuff in the league. Everybody. You can look at any offense across the league and you can find the same concepts. You can find the same type of runs. Now, some teams run it more than others, but in terms of just catching up to his illusion of complexity, no. Listen, I think they're learning how to stay at home when you're doing some of this tricanery with the orbit motion and the spinneroo and fake to this guy. Absolutely, completely agree with you there if that's what you're saying, right? But yeah, I think that I will caution people, try to say this in a tactful way. I will caution fans, don't believe everything you hear right now, because I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of content out there where people are just throwing up on their microphone. And they will say something 1 second and 30 seconds later, they'll say something that totally contradicts the point that they were just hammering home to the point where they had a vein popping out of their forehead. And it's like,
Just because you're loud and frothing at the mouth or typing
Right.
your tweets in all caps doesn't mean you're correct.
Yeah. Right. So again, thank you for that super chat, Jason. Hopefully that answered your question. I know it's a boring answer, but everybody's running the same stuff. It's how much of that stuff is this offense running as opposed to this one. It's just like 12 personnel. We were a little surprised this year that we pressed so hard into 12 personnel. And then we get halfway through the season and the analytics are coming out going, hey, the highest rate of success is actually coming out of 12 and 13 personnel. Now, why is that? The reason being is you've got defenses that are matching personnel, meaning if you come out in 11 personnel, they're going to match you with nickel no matter what the formation is, right? If you come out in 12 personnel, they're going to match it with base. If you come out with 13, they got to make a decision. Do we go even heavier than base with like a 4-4 or a 5-2 look? And what that does is that will open up the passing game, and that's what LaFleur has done. It's one of the reasons why LaFleur and the Packers offense is third in passing right now. People don't know that. Packers are actually third in passing yards per pass attempt right now. And we're screaming and frothing at the mouth or foaming at the mouth on Sunday going, hey, we need to be more aggressive. We need to pass the ball. And I'm like, are we watching the same game? Anyway, Chris Casual says, I don't think so. Clayton White never had the Quinnen pedigree. Quinnen's a freak, right, Chris? There's no two ways about it. Devontae Wyatt is a pass rushing defensive tackle. That's what he is, right? He's a true 3-tech pass rusher. He's gotten better at playing the run, I believe, but he's a true 3-tech pass rusher. Quinnen Williams can do it all, man. He can bully a double team into the lap of the quarterback. He can beat you with a pass rush, and he plays the run really well too. I mean, he had like 4 or 5 years where he's grading out in the 90s. Guys, that's Micah Parsons' top grades, right? So Devontae Wyatt hasn't gotten there yet. Hopefully he does, but yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I don't think he's got that pedigree, but yeah. So, and then 2-0 for this says maybe Darrelle Revis. That's a good one. That's a
great one right there. Yeah. Darrelle Revis, man.
They said, but only in terms of erasing players. And again, that was like that era was starting to come to an end of the number one corner following the number one receiver, right? Because they played a lot of man coverage. And the one I remember is Rex Ryan's defense, right? He had kind of a hybrid version of his daddy's 46 defense, Buddy Ryan, with the 85 Bears.
Yep.
Yeah, and he mixed in man coverage with it, and Revis would just follow the number one. So that was an interesting time. And you notice that he didn't last in the league very long. Rex Ryan didn't. He had a lot of success, right? He made it to the AFC Championship with Mark Sanchez as your freaking quarterback. That says enough in itself. But yeah, I think Revis is of all the people we named. I'm gonna get raked over the coals for this, Tim. But I'm just gonna be honest. That's what I feel like you guys want me to do, whether you agree with me or not. I think I put Revis a little bit higher than Charles Woodson. Don't hate me, but Revis.
Champ Bailey was mentioned in the chat.
Champ Bailey was good.
Champ Bailey was a dog too, but I don't think he struck fear in the hearts of men quite the way that Deion did in his prime.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I didn't expect the conversation to go in that direction. That was fun though, guys. Appreciate that. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, what do you think about the trade deadline? I felt like it was a fun trade deadline. The Packers were in on some conversations. Michael Mayer, they were in on that.
Yep.
Man, I was hoping they'd pull the trigger on it, Tim, just because I'm a big Notre Dame fan. And if they could get he's playing his best football right now, but he's the number 2 tight end, obviously, in Vegas behind Brock Bowers. So if he becomes a true number 1 tight end, a wide tight end in a pro offense, maybe he's not as effective, right? With Brock Bowers taking some of that attention away from him. But let us know in the comments, guys, if you're watching this back later, what did you think about the trade deadline? Is there anything you agree with, disagree with what we said? Also, make sure you click like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the